Mazes and Monsters, by the way, was a very fitting name for the time. I remember some of those earlier alternative game systems to Dungeons & Dragons in the beginning, and they used a similar alliterative style, such as Tunnels and Trolls or Villains and Vigilantes. Just to give you an idea of the treatment, here's an exchange between a college student and a police officer in the movie.
What do you guys think happened?
One of the players Robbie played with got carried away and killed him.
That's kind of far out.
Mazes and Monsters is a far-out game. Swords, poison, spells, battles, maiming, killing.
Hey, it's all imagination.
Is it?
Also, 2 years after the publication of Mazes and Monsters and Hobgoblin, William Deere, the private investigator for the Egbert case, came out with his own non-fiction account of the case called The Dungeon Master, The Disappearance of James Dallas Egbert III. Alright, here's another prison cell. It's not evident, I guess, because there's no door handle on the outside. It's kind of strange that it's on the inside. Alright. Hopefully they'll come out. Doesn't look like they've noticed anybody yet.
You just follow me and stay close.
I shall do as you ask.
Now just wait right there. You just follow me and stay close.
Whoa. Where's that coming from? Oh, look at this. More here in the hallway. Man, I thought we'd check that. Alright. Want to sleep? That was lucky. Comes the attack dog. Negative energy ray. Alright, magic missile. As long as they're not casting anything, we're okay. Alright. Of course, the other one we just closed. It's interesting to note that even Dungeons & Dragons Online, Eberron Unlimited, the MMORPG launched in 2006, references the Egbert case with a dungeon called the Steam Tunnels, a quest given by Wayfinder Dale. Alright, this storage room also has more prisoners in it. Yeah, we don't want to get congested by the door. Just try to lure... Boy, they haven't even noticed him yet. I'm surprised. Alright, this guy did. There's 4 of them. What's he doing? Alright. Also take a bite. What's going on? Alright, that got their attention at least.
him down.
Negative energy. Later, in 1988, during a completely unrelated case involving the murder of Leith von Stein, his stepson, Christopher W. Pritchard, admitted to police that he and his friends would enter the steam tunnels of North Carolina State University to play live-action Dungeons & Dragons, and to map them for inclusion in later gaming sessions above ground. When he was later convicted for the murder, it was sensationalized by the media, and yet again, two authors published works, stressing the part Dungeons & Dragons had played. In 1991, Joe McGinnis published his true crime book, Cruel Doubt, documenting the Leith von Stein case, which was later adapted into a two-part television miniseries of the same name the very next year. The movie actually depicts the first edition player's handbook with altered artwork so as to appear as an inspiration for the crime. At the same time as Cruel Doubt, Jerry Bledsoe published his novel Blood Games, which was adapted into the made-for-television movie Honor Thy Mother the next year. That movie actually portrays an investigator reading a first edition rulebook and discovering fictitious rules related to the crime, such as extra points for multiple hits. Both of these television movies were debuted during the 1992 May sweeps for television audience ratings, by the way. Throughout the 1980s, the media, investigators, police, and even prosecutors were quick to imply causation between role-playing games and violent crime. And some defendants were even claiming that Dungeons & Dragons made them do it. In 1985, Ronald Lampazzi confessed to murder, and that he played Dungeons & Dragons. And suddenly, the district attorney calls a witness to testify that he and Lampazzi played D&D together, and that at least one session involved a player being forced to kill something to reach the next step in the game. Many, if not all, criminal defendants have been convicted despite using a Dungeons & Dragons defense, including Darren Molitor, despite testimony by Dr. Thomas Radecki as an expert on the game Dungeons & Dragons, that when two people have played D&D, there's more of a desensitization of playing with violence, or even commission of intentional violent behavior between the two. Daniel R. Dower, whose lawyer claimed his defendant lived in a fantasy world of dungeon masters and violent movies. Daniel E. Kasten, who contended at the trial that his mind was under the control of a D&D character at the time of the slayings. Sean Richard Sellers, despite more expert testimony from Dr. Thomas Radecki. Brian Wayne Widenhouse, who claimed that he acted out the role of a character from the game Dungeons & Dragons in order to rid the world of evil. And Jeffrey Carl Meyer, who claimed he would come back in a medieval life when Dungeons & Dragons were real. And not just murder. Some have even claimed a D&D defense for robbery or even kidnapping. Otherwise, there of course has been a slew of religious controversies concerning Dungeons & Dragons, but I'll save that discussion for another time. Perhaps when Lily's instead making her way through a temple or something. Greater gloves of concentration. much like the glove she found in the chest behind Helma's bookcase in Blacklake, as designed by Beregost resident Hamish, but more potent. A welcome improvement to her wardrobe indeed. With the new glove, she could cast a spell without losing her concentration even while galloping on horseback. That she doesn't own a horse is irrelevant. She could do it. An Amulet of Will. The amulets were first conceived by the high-ranking Harper, Jeroboam Cantor, to help protect the minds and secrets of Harper spies. Though, when caught himself and the amulet removed, he revealed everything he knew. Alright, from all around Lilly comes the scraping of metal bars slipping back into their stone sheaths. She didn't necessarily want to open the cell doors. Like the hope was that it was going to open that door. Yes. No matter. As long as the door is open, presumably leading even further below into the prison. She sets bones to check for any surprises the prisoners may have set in defense. With a wave of the feather token, Inquisitor General Black directs her savage hunter from the Coldwood to follow her, as she intends a return to the lockdown for a spell. If they were to be entering the pits, it would seem fitting to bring a spider. The jest, even without Demonwebs, reminds her of Viconia, Abbil, and wonders where she even is. She undoubtedly would have found this a most unsatisfactory arrangement, being holed up in what amounts to holding pens for Riven. Lilly will be glad to get out of this place herself and back to Little Red. But for now, it's her and her familiar, who gets a tiny pet for being the only one nearby she has the slightest concern for. Lilly sits to meditate, but finds it hard to concentrate. Even with eyes closed, she can feel Emernik and the Uthgard watching her, and can hear the half-orc breathing, and worst of all, can smell. Leather? It's Dannen's wretched belt. And she's back at the Moonstone Mask. Alone. She wastes no time and lays out a large mirror, almost as tall as her. With a silver frame so highly polished, she can see herself reflected in both glass and frame. She sets a copper nib in one corner and a brass toal in the other, and then pours a vial of aqua fortis over the mirror, the colorless liquid completely covering the glass and the coins. And then she kneels over the mirror, and with the belt in her hands, closes her eyes and begins to utter black infernal phrases, repeating them over and over and over. Finally, after an hour, the utterances trail into a whisper, and then silence. Lilly's eyes suddenly open, and a vision begins to form in the mirror. It's of Dannen, and he has black hair. No wonder. And he's in a red and blue uniform. He's a Bloodsailor with black epaulets, a lieutenant, and he's standing by a canal, underground, in the sewers of Neverwinter. The Lady of Murder sets out at once to find him, returning to the docks and entering the old maintenance building leading to the aqueducts. And he's there, and so is Little Red. And that bitch dyed her hair black, and is a Bloodsailor too. It was all a ruse to get Vengol and Callik out of the way. And everyone else is there, and Bloodsailors too. Lanu, with black hair. Bones. Well, he's always had black hair. Wally, Kirasu, even that ugly barmaid. All Bloodsailors with black hair. Even the Beastball Wolves and her spider. Black hair. Inquisitor General Black demands satisfaction, slapping the piping pauper across the mouth. He accepts, naming the red-headed tramp as his second, Lily Bones. She draws her astral blade with her dominant hand, her left, while gesturing behind her back with her right, invoking a curse. And it works. He has barely enough strength to raise his blade, let alone defend himself, and finds himself pinned to the wall. But just as she was about to run him through, she stops and notices he has a hole in the side of his head, and there's something inside. But it's too late. Lily is arrested. Violation of Neverwinter Code legal for crimes against the city, namely that of unlawful dueling. But the intellect devourer, it has her Little Red. Nobody seems to listen as she's dragged away. To Neverwinter Prison, to a cell. But she's not alone. She shares it with 3 others, and they all seem very, very angry. The derelict guard from the wall at Beggar's Nest, the pyromaniac from the pier at the docks, and Jones from the tomb at the peninsula. Lily wakes from her trance in a cold sweat. If she found out Little Red was a little pirate helping her lieutenant lover, she'd scream, and then kill them both, of course. She wonders, though, as it almost seems plausible. A Bloodsailor pirate, forced ashore under the quarantine, sends his floozy to the Traded Blades to be hired by those in service to Lord Nasher, so she can ensure the only 2 in his way would be killed when the cockatrice recovered. It's doubtful, though, as Sharwin didn't disappear once left alone after the pirates were killed, unless she was only waiting for the celestial elixir, in which case she's already gone. Lily needs her dusty diviner to start divining, and right away.